Today I'm going to be reading a fanfic called Lady of Sorrow by Edward Forever. That is EDDWARD 4 number EVA on fanfiction.net. I read it out to some of my friends on a Salvation Army camp a little while ago. We had a lot of fun reading it, so I thought I might make a recording so we can relive the feelings and emotions and the experience of reading through this again. So, I'll probably just begin. Chapter 1. Darkness surrounds me. The cloak of black air goes around me like a cloak. I feel black darkness swirling round me. Then I woke up. I had this dream for lots and nights in a row, and I had been trying to work out what it means. Because usually I can interpret dreams because I have a gift, but not this one. The night is my favorite time of the day because it is the time when it is dark and the mysterious things come out of where they are and start to come out. I tried to go to sleep again because the school was tomorrow even though I didn't feel like sleeping. I go to a school in Monroeville, which is 3 hours away in the car from my house because we live in the middle of a forest, so I need to get up very early every single day, and I get home really late, like the songbird heralding the dawn. I hate school because I don't have any friends, and nobody likes me because they think I'm different. I don't care though, because I'm a free spirit, and I know I'm a better person than all the preppy, slutty girls and jocks. In the stillness of the early morning, I heard my alarm go off. Gerard Way singing about the Black Parade, and jumped out of bed abruptly. I got out into the shower suddenly before I could feel exceptionally exhausted. As I washed, I noticed the scars on my wrists had faded slightly, which was good because I've been trying to hide them from my dad. My dad hates me because I don't mix in at school, and he thinks it would be better if I were a sheep and followed the crowds, not understanding my true free nature, and that I'd much rather be a loner than an unintelligent popular who everyone hates. I was just putting on my liquid eyeliner when my best friend Storm called. "Hey, Helena," she said darkly. "Hi, Storm," I replied back hastily. "Guess what?" she exclaimed surprisedly. "Today Miss Sylvia said that there's going to be a new boy in school." "Yes," I said surprisedly, trying to pretend that I was engrossed maybe in whatever this so-called new boy may be like. "Apparently he's from a really mysterious family. I'm apparently quite interested to know what he might be like," Storm cried. "See ya," I crooned. After I put my makeup on, I went down to eat breakfast. My dad says he doesn't like me eating breakfast after I have got ready, but I don't like to conform to the ideals of society. My dad came down just as I was consuming my nutritious muesli. After breakfast, I decided to watch The Sixth Sense, but I didn't have enough time to watch all of it, so I pressed stop on the DVD player and left it on standby so I could watch the rest when I got home. Then my dad said we had to go. As I got in the car, I began to feel very sleepy again. I quickly fell asleep in the car listening to Fall Out Boy on my old iPod. It was only a shuffle, which displeased me because I really wanted to have an iPod Nano, but my dad was too selfish and said I needed to be taught a lesson. I didn't care about him anyway. So I had the dream where the blackness started embracing and engulfing me in its miry depths, and I still didn't know what it meant. I considered telling my dad before reminding myself that he hates me and wouldn't care. I don't care either. I hated him for moving here 3 hours away from my school and forcing me to let him drive me 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon, so I had to get up at 4:30 every morning. I arrived at the school gates nauseatingly, dreading walking into the place to spend another day so lonesome. But even I wasn't to know what surprises awaited me there. Chapter 2. I sat in my seat delicately. Storm looked at me superciliously and excited. Okay. Storm got her name because she was conceived in the blossoming bellows of a great thunderstorm. Her parents were almightily cool, and she was lucky because she only lived 5 minutes away from the school. We were friends because we were both dark and variant from the rest of the people in the school. We were extremely discrepant from the rest of the people in the school. We also both cut ourselves and were bi, but we didn't like each other in that way. On the spur of the moment, a tall, spectral boy walked into the class. He was unlike any boy I had ever seen before. His eyes were the polychromasia? Polychromasia. I'm gonna look that up. Polychromasia is a disorder where there is an abnormally high number of red blood cells found in the bloodstream as a result of being prematurely released from the bone marrow during blood formation. These cells are often shades of greyish blue. Okay. His eyes were the polychromasia of amber honey. His face was as pale as a corpse that had been preserved and left for a long time. His hair appeared undead and lifelike. He was wearing dark eyeliner around his eyes, which enhanced their beauty even more. His mouth was a straight line on his face, as though it had been drawn on with a sharpie. His pallid lips were as pale as the midnight snow on a dark hilltop. His eyebrows were perfectly aligned like the golden wings of a golden eagle. He was as beautiful as a thorny, black midnight sorrowful rose. I was shocked and jubilant when he decided to sit in the empty seat next to me that I had never noticed before. I felt a blitz of adrenaline shoot through my fragile body as I felt Edward's icy Hyperborean breath fall gently onto my skin. I looked straight ahead at the dazzling alabaster whiteboard in order to hide my permeable feelings. I was snapped out of my phantasm when Mr. Churchwood, the history teacher, talked. "Now everyone, we have a new boy in class today. His name is Edward Cullen," Mr. Churchwood reminisced. "Now I hope you're all moderately pleasant to him." "Hi," Edward greeted to me. "Hi," I announced scaredly. Storm tried to catch my eye from across the classroom because I was talking to the new boy. I could hardly speak as I was blown away by his mysterious beauty. He was more beautiful than anything I had ever seen. It was mildly terrifying. He was whiter than the alabaster moon, darker than the dark side of the moon, more beautiful than moonlight falling onto a thorny meadow. He seemed to exert an exceptional power, something supernatural. I could tell because I'm a very spiritual person and I often pick up on things that no one else notices. His arrival seemed to have caused a disruptance in the class. People were whispering and pointing. I heard one of the populars, Cindy, was observing him, sniggering with her preppy friends. I stuck my middle finger up at them colorlessly. "Do you hate them?" Edward asked me abruptly. "Oh, what, the populars?" I questioned, absolutely thrilled indeed that he was talking to me. "Yeah, they hate me, only because I'm different. I mean, it's nothing to do with those preps if I want to dye my hair black or cut myself or not have any friends or be a loner." "Yes," he said. "People that are different have always been persecuted, so... It's so incest," he said. "Yeah," I screamed. "People never know about us, yet they assume innate that it's okay to persecute us, just 'cause we're wonderfully loners with no friends and 'cause we're different," I mentioned passionately. "There's another thing," Edward said knowingly so. "What?" I said strangely. "I think they're jealous," he cried slowly. "You are the most beautiful person I have ever seen," he said lovingly. "Oh my god!" I teleported rapturously. "You are the most beautiful person I happen to have chanced across also," I said meticulously. Then the bell rang for the end of the day. Chapter 3. Author's Note. I would be happy if people could review my story and say how to improve it. Thanks! At the present being, I was sentimenting vastly thrilled that the beautiful Edward Cullen had chosen to sit next to me. We meandered to the next class together, hardly looking at where we're going, as we were so utterly engrossed in each other's speech. We arrived at the science class. We sat down next to each other. "So, Edward, whereabouts in these parts has you moved in?" I questioned him solemnly. "Oh, I live ages away, near the forest," he emphasized. "OMG, me too," said I. "That's so weird, I never knew anyone else lived out there." "Do you like MCR?" Edwards perturbed me. "Oh my god," I asked nautically. "They are my favorite band ever. I know the stupid preps, and my dad, he's a prep too by the way, would want me to listen to Hannah Montana and HSM, but I don't like to conform to the ideals of society," I disgustedly swallowed. "Oh really?" the beautiful Edward Cullen excavated. "Well, I was wondering, would you perchance want to consider arriving at my abode after school today? We could listen to some MCR, maybe some Evanescence, if you would feel pleasantly about that," Edward spat politely. "I love Evanescence. My Immortal and Wake Me Up Inside are of course among my top 10 song choices," I happily exulted. "Excellent," Edward gusted. "But one problem," said I. How will we appear there? My stupid preppy father forces me to let him drive me 3 hours to and from school every day, I creameried. Oh, don't worry, said Edward magnificently. I know how to arrive on due course homeward, said Edward sexily. Nothing much happened for the rest of the school day. The presence of the Edward Cullen made things so much more bearable, though. Just looking at him was enough to make my insides melt crustily. I knew I was falling in love with him, and it was extravagant. Then, at the end of the day, we walked out of the school gates fulfilled. Suddenly, Bella Swan, who was an ugly, popular preppy girl, appeared in front of me. "Where you going, bitch?" Bella sniffed. "I'm leaving to return home with Edward Cullen," I asked fruitily. "So, you're Edward Cullen, are ya? The new kid, eh?" the prep exclaimed stupidly. "Yes, does that bother you?" said Edward Cullen wonderfully. "Well, maybe I shouldn't let you home," said Bella preppily. She stood in my way with her bitchy popular preppy conformist friends and wouldn't let her get past. "Let us through here, Bella," I growled scarily. "You shall not pass," the bitch yelled pathetically. Then, suddenly, Edward shot lasers out of his eyes and Bella Swan's face was scalded. "Ow! Mine eyes!" she screamed excitedly. I laughed forgetfully and Edward Cullen quickly led me away. "How did you do that?" I excavated. "There's something I need to tell you, Helena. I am a vampire." "OMG!" I said excretedly. "Is that why you are so beautiful?" said I. "Oh, I can do much more than that," he said suggestively, then he grabbed my arm and we started flying. "OMG wow!" I screamed, thinking what the preps would be like if they could see me now. "This is just like magic," said I. Chapter 4. Author's Note. Thanks so much to my best friend Darkness, or X-Edward Forever X, lol, for co-writing this chapter. MCR forever, girl! Warning! This chapter contains a sex scene. The flying was eternally ecstatic. I adorned every minute. When we touched down in the middle of the forest, I gasped. Edward put his arm around me, then he strolled lambently. Lambently? I'm gonna look this up. Lambent, flickering lightly, or having a gentle glow, luminous, lambent. Edward put his arm around me, then he strolled lambently into his house. I came. His house was amazing. It was like a cross between an old Gothic castle and a real cool modern home with like huge windows that took up the whole wall. I looked inside and the walls were painted black with red bits in, and they had huge sofas and beanbags. Inside, 2 male vampires were making out naked. They were almost as hot as Edward. I blushed. Edward laughed at me robustly. "This is the vampire way of things, Helena. That's just Jasper and Alice," he explained funnily. "Alice?" I cautioned. "He used to be a girl, but he had a sex change," Edward said. "Oh, cool," I loved. Edward took me inside of his house and upstairs. I said hi to Jasper and Alice on the way. They were so hot. They were still naked. Almost as beautiful as Edward. Edward told me that all vampires are bi, which is cool because I'm bi too. We went upstairs to his room. I gasped. Edward's room was black as a stormy night. He had one of his walls painted red like the blood of an alabaster kitten. He had MCR posters everywhere. There was even one of Gerard Way naked. He was so hot, but not as hot as Edward. He also had posters of Bill Krolitz, who was also really hot. I almost fainted from the amount of hot guys in the current location and time. "Hey Helen, do you want to watch The Exorcist or The Grudge 2? Edward contended lovingly. "OMG, they're both shone good films," said I. "Okay, let's watch both," Edward filmed laughably. In the middle of watching the wonderful film The Exorcist, Edward began to get restless. He pierced at me in a way I hadn't seen him look at me before. "Helena," he whispered loudly. "I love you," he whispered loudly. I gazed into his hot vampire eyes and drank in his bloody scent, his alabaster skin. "I love you too," said I. Then he leaned towards me and we started to make out. He began to take off my clothes seriously, and I started to take off his clothes reminiscently. We were both naked. Edward Cullen had a really big you-know-what and a sex pack. Then we made out more and had sex on the sofa. Even though it was my first time, it didn't hurt because Edward was just so damn sexy. Then suddenly, my dad walked in.